Most of us can tell you what a home costs, but I can tell you what went into building that home. My name is Alex Hughes with the North Pacific Homes Group here in Victoria, and prior to getting into real estate, I was a branch manager for North America's second largest building materials distributor, meaning I wasn't just around construction, but we were the supply chain behind it. So when I walk through a new build here in Victoria, I'm not just looking at the types of countertops used or the face value of the home. No, I'm looking at the stuff that's going to decide whether this home is going to perform well over the next 10 years. So in today's video, we're going to be going over how to read build quality when doing a walkthrough. And no, you don't need to be a contractor for this. Asking the right questions to the developer. What does the 2, 5, 10 warranty even mean, and what does it cover? And what are some of the red flags that we see that will question if we want to proceed with this project? A new construction home is essentially just a massive group project. You've got the developer sitting at the top, they're the money, they're the vision. You've got a general contractor or a GC. Now these are the people that oversee the day-to-day operations. And you've got all the trades, the drywallers, the plumbers, the framers. Then you have the suppliers who supply all the material, the drywall, the lumber, the HVAC equipment. Sitting on the supplier side was a unique seat because you started to notice patterns across multiple builders. People that would order quality materials consistently, people that would value engineer everything down to the minimum, and people that would make the substitutions when either budget or timelines were getting tight. As a branch manager, we were overseeing big relationships, big supply chains, big jobs. We weren't just selling to weekend warriors, and we were dealing with specs, substitutions, shortages, scheduling, and the difference between this just meets code and this was built to last. We've seen what happens when a project gets rushed, when a developer changes the materials midstream. Now this is generally a supply issue. And when that glossy, fancy brochure doesn't match with the reality of the build. So here's the biggest takeaway. New construction doesn't automatically mean better. It just means new. Quality is a choice, and it's our job to figure out exactly what's going on. Okay, so we're walking into a new construction home. And here's how to read beyond the finishes. Now, before we get into this, I want to make it abundantly clear that whenever you're buying a new home, we always recommend getting a home inspection. Now, these people are in homes all day, every day, and they have so much more tech that's going to allow them to see much more than our eye. That being said, let's start off with the windows. Windows aren't just about looks and being able to look through them. No, they have a job that they need to perform. So we're looking for consistent seals, smoothness of operation, no waviness or binding in the actual frame itself. And more often than not, the developer will have documentation on the type of window and its specs. If we're looking at the insulation and the ventilation, yeah, of course, we're not going to be able to see it once it's all sealed up, but we can still ask the questions. We want to know what sort of ventilation system has been used, and yes, there are certain building code requirements for HRV, for example, but also we want to be seeing, how operational and how functional is the bathroom fan even. Finishing choices can hide shortcuts, but mechanical rooms can't. So when we're walking through, we're going to be looking at how clean and organized everything is. Are the shutoffs labeled correctly? We, of course, are going to know what sort of heating it is, whether it's baseboard, whether it's heat pump or centralized air. And we can assume that if the mechanical is sloppy, then, well, the stuff behind the walls probably isn't that much better. You've probably heard of the term builder grade, and that's nothing to be warned of, but it is the minimum viable spec allowed for mass delivery. And that's going to show up in thinner underlay, more of a basic appliance package, basic plumbing fixtures, basic door and hardware for cabinets. And that's fine, but as long as the price aligns with it and the core build quality is still strong. I'd way rather buy builder grade finishes but a very strong building envelope than more of a luxurious finish and envelope risk. So a couple checks that we can do is making sure that the floors are relatively level. Now there are allowances, nothing ever is going to be perfectly straight. We're going to make sure that the doors are closing and latching properly. We'll have a look to see if the baseboards are lining up and consistent lines are there showing that the tradespeople are carrying. And also we'll check the tubs and the showers, caulking is in there and there's no gaps. Again, we always recommend getting a home inspector, and with everything that we're saying, we're not trying to say at all that developers are always out cutting corners. Here in Victoria, especially being from the supply side, I can confidently say there are a ton of fantastic developers that truly do care about getting you good product. There's always going to be issues. That's why we have a deficiency walkthrough, but we want to make sure that those deficiencies are getting addressed, and in my experience with the developers we've worked with, they have been. Now, getting into the questions that we want to be asking these developers, and generally it falls on the materials and the specs. Now, there are building code requirements that developers need to hit, but we're trying to figure out exactly where they're at, whether they just hit it or they've exceeded that code. So we want to be figuring out, what windows and what their specs are, the insulation and what the target performance are, what the plumbing supply lines are, what type of flooring and underlay has been used, and if it's a basic appliance package or if there's an upgrade available. Next is going to be who is the GC and who's actually building this. And this is more important than people realize. Sometimes the developer is also the builder, but sometimes it's contracted out. And so figuring out who the GC and the tradespeople being used will be a major predictor of workmanship consistency. Are they staying on schedule or have a history of falling behind? And what is the deficiency resolution after possession? If you want to get really technical about it, then you can start asking about the building envelope design. Now in BC, biggest risk for us, of course, is water. And this showed up everywhere during the leaky condo crisis of the late 80s, early 90s. And there have been so many codes put into place to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But if you want to, you can start talking about the wall assembly. How does water act on the windows and the balconies and the transition, and what sort of ventilation and condensation control has been put into place. And we can ask what BC Energy step code this is being built to, which does affect you in real world, right? It could be your comfort or your bills or the resale value. And again, this isn't meant to be as a gotcha to these developers, but we just want to make sure we know what we're walking into and that it's the right fit for you. Moving on to the warranty, or the 2-5-10 warranty here in BC. Now, a lot of folks hear that it's under warranty and thinks that it covers everything, but it doesn't. So the 2 for years 0 to 2 is essentially any labor and materials focused work. So that could be any leaks, any drafts, any poor fan performance, any screw pops, maybe it's cracks that are larger than the normal settling amount, any latches that aren't latching properly, essentially anything that's not performing as intended. Next is the 5-year warranty, the building envelope. As Ed mentioned, this is unbelievably important. It's a big risk, water ingress tied to the envelope, and anything that keeps the elements out, the windows, the roof, the siding, all of that is covered for 5 years under this warranty. And for 10 years, you're covered for structure, and that's major structural defects, not little squeaks, not cosmetics, and not normal settling that's allowed. So what's not covered under this warranty that people often get surprised about? Well, the first one is going to be your appliances. That's a separate manufacturer's warranty, and it's generally about a year. You got your landscaping isn't covered, cosmetic issues after a certain amount of time, normal wear and tear, anything that occurred due to owner negligence, or lack of maintenance. Don't think of the warranty as a blanket safety net. Think of it as a framework to use properly. The 1-year deficiency window. We would recommend during your first year there, run a structured deficiency process. That means keeping a log, taking photos, timestamping any issues, and submitting during the builder's process. Now, if you wait until the problem really annoys you, you might miss your best leverage window. So here are some of the red flags that we watch out for. Unrealistic timelines with no contingency. Now, this is obviously going to change throughout the process of the project, but if we're hearing this early on and they're saying, for sure going to be done this day with no accounting for the variables, that means that they're operating under pressure and not planning. Reluctancy to disclose who the GC is or the trades that are being used. Now, quality builders, quality developers, they're proud of their team. If they're trying to hide any of that stuff, that means that they don't want any scrutiny. Finishings that aren't matching the price point. Now, if you're paying premium for this property and you're noticing bargain materials being used in key areas, well, there's probably some other budget cuts going on somewhere else. And getting deflections instead of answers. If somebody's telling you, oh, don't worry about it, that's when you start to worry. If you've made it to the end of this video, hopefully that means that you know more than other buyers walking into new builds because you're paying attention to what matters. The process, the envelope, the structural, the mechanical. And here's the point. This knowledge helps you whether you're buying new construction or resale. You're going to stop being sold to and start understanding how these buildings actually work. So if you are buying in Greater Victoria, whether it's a condo, a townhouse, or a brand new build and you want somebody in your corner, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. If you did like this video, give us a like. It helps us out immensely. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get out content to you to make you a more informed buyer or seller. Thank you so much for watching and looking forward to connecting with you.